Hello and welcome to British English with Alexander. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today we're going to be talking about another unit. This is Unity 31 out of expected 100 units where we're going to be talking about all the English structures involved in the British English grammar. Um, Before we get started, please, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel so we can help English learners all over the world to improve their English, bringing it to the next level. Okay, without any further ado, let's go over that second part of the verb plus ing structure. This is the Unity 31, obviously, where we're talking about the construction of a verb plus ing forms and infinitives too, following the previous lesson, also about ing forms. Okay, let's move on. This is section A. So we've got here, after some verbs, we need to include an object before a to infinitive in active sentences. So basically, we've got here this example. The police warned everyone to stay inside with their windows closed. So this is the basic principle of a sentence where we've got the subject, the police. The police warned. So we might ask the verb, who warned the police? The police warned everyone. They warned who? The police warned everyone. Okay, the police warned everyone to what? To stay inside with their windows closed. So we've got the verb to warn. When you warn someone to something. So this is the object, the direct object in that case. They warned everyone to what? And we've got the indirect object, to stay inside with their windows closed. So this is an advice. That pattern of sentence in the active sentence can also be used with the following verbs. I'm just gonna read those verbs so to improve your pronunciation, but I'd like to advise that when you are interested in learning those verbs, you should put all of them inside a context, inside a sentence, so that it gets easier to remember them. But okay, we pronounce those verbs like that. The verbs to advise, allow, believe, cause, command, enable, encourage, entitle, force, invite, order, persuade, remind, show, teach, tell. So with all of those verbs, we use that pattern. Like, the police warned everyone to stay inside with their windows closed. In active sentences, obviously. Okay, moving on. After all the verbs, however, we can't include an object before to infinitive. For example, we've decided to leave early. It's a sort of intransitive verb. We can already understand. We've taken the decision to what? To leave early. To leave early. In that case, we don't put an object after the verb like in the previous example. For that sort of pattern, we can also consider the verbs to agree, consent, fail, hope, manage, offer, pretend, refuse, start, threaten, and volunteer. We don't use an object before those verbs. Okay, moving on. This is section B. After some verbs, we have to put a preposition, usually for. Sometimes it is stressed for, but usually it's for, immediately after the verb before an object plus to infinitive. For example, They arranged it. They arranged it for Rania to stay in London. They arranged it for Rania to stay in London. So we've got the indirect object and the direct object. They arranged it for Rania what? To stay in London. Another example, they applied for the court appearance to be postponed. They applied for the court appearance to be postponed. We use that pattern also with the verbs to advertise, campaign, long, plan, wait. After apply and campaign, the two infinitives, usually passive, like in the previous example. They applied for the court appearance to be postponed. Use the passive with those verbs in particular. Okay, other verbs can be followed by different prepositions plus object or object plus two infinitive. For example, the pattern at plus object plus two infinitive. For example, I shouted at the man to open the door. I shouted at the man. This is the indirect object. I shouted at the man to open the door with the purpose to opening the door. I shouted at the man to open the door. Okay, just so you know, we've got here the phrasal verb to go on. Go on have several meanings, but in that case it means to criticize continually. To criticize continually. Stop going on about that, for example. We also have the pattern for this construction to keep on. To keep on. Keep on. It means to talk about something many times. Stop keeping on about this or that. To talk about something many times. Keep on. We also have the verbs to scream, shout, yell, and yell. All those verbs, scream, shout, and yell, mean the same thing. For example, if we check the meaning of the verb to yell, it means to shout loudly. For example, because you're angry, excited, frightened, or in pain. Scream, shout, and yell. They mean the same thing. They mean to ah, something like that. Again, I shouted at the man to open the door, or I screamed at the man to open the door, or I yelled at the man to open the door. They mean the same thing. They're synonyms. Okay, moving on to another pattern. We've got here the preposition on plus object plus to infinitive. For example, we're depending on you to find a solution soon. You're depending on who? We're depending on you. To what? To find a solution soon. So there's a dependence on you to find a solution soon. Okay, we've got here another verb which is quite important. It is the verb to call used in that pattern. For example, it means here to officially ask someone to do something. Other sorts of verbs used in that pattern include the verb to count, depend, prevail, and rely. Okay, moving on. We've got another pattern here with the preposition to plus object or object plus to infinitive with the verbs, for example, to appeal, gesture, motion, and signal. For example, he closed the door and signaled to the pilot to take off. So he closed the door and signaled to the pilot to take off. So we've got here, he closed the door and signaled to plus object, the pilot, plus to infinitive, to take off. This is the object. He signaled to the pilot to take off. This is the infinitive. Okay, moving on now to section C. A number of other sorry, a number of other to infinitive and ing forms can also follow verbs. For example, we've got verb plus negative to infinitive and negative ing forms. For verb plus negative to infinitive, we've got here, we decided not to go to Paris after all. We decided, this is the verb to decide, we decided plus negative to infinitive, not to go to Paris after all. After all. We decided not to go to Paris after all. Compare. The people didn't decide to go to war. It was the political leaders. In that case, the pronoun says that we've taken the decision not to go to Paris after all. And the second example, comparing, the people didn't decide to go to war. It wasn't their decision. It was their political leaders. The political leaders decided that people should go to war. Okay, moving on. Some of my friends have considered not going to college because of the cost. So, they've taken the decision. Some of my friends have considered not going to college because of the cost. This is the verb plus negative, have considered plus negative to infinitive. Negative to infinitive, and sorry, in that case we've got negative ing forms. Negative ing forms. Some of my friends have considered not going to college because of the cost. This is about negative ing forms. Some of my friends have decided not going to college because of the cost. Another example. For example, I haven't considered going to college. I haven't considered going to college. I don't want to go on studying after school. I don't want to go on studying after school. Okay, moving on. We've got here verb plus to have plus past participle. The accident seems to have happened at around 1 p.m. yesterday. The accident seems to have happened at around 1 p.m. yesterday. So we've got the verb plus to have plus past participle of the verb to happen. Another example, Simons is alleged to have assaulted a police officer. Simons is alleged to what? To have assaulted a police officer. This form is often used to give an opinion after verbs like seem and appear about a past event, or to report what is or was said after passive verbs like is alleged or was alleged, is believed, was believed, is said, was said, is thought, was thought about past events. Okay, moving on, we've got the pattern verb plus having plus passive participle. The verb plus ing and verb plus having plus passive participle forms have a similar meaning with these verbs. For example, I now regret buying the car. So we've got the verb regret, the verb plus ing. I now regret buying the car. And the second example, having plus passive participle. I now regret having bought the car. I now regret having bought the car. This form is most often used with admit, deny, forget, recall, regret, and remember. Okay, that's the end of our lesson. We've just finished it. Don't worry about that because it's really easy to understand. Um, as, lo- as long as we continue going on about the lessons, you're gonna notice that it's really easy to understand. It's not that difficult. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the lesson, and please do not forget to subscribe to the channel so we can help English learners all over the world to improve their abilities in terms of grammar, structure, pronunciation, all the things that are needed to improve your confidence in English. I hope you've enjoyed it. Cheers.